All right, guys, Fula coming to you with another video. You know, it must be said that whenever the United States does not like what another country is doing, it will orchestrate a conflict in order to keep that country from doing what it wants to do. And so this is what we see with the Russia and Ukraine conflict. So the thing is, we have to do a timeline of how we got here. You know what I mean? You can't take anything you hear for face value, okay? There's always something deeper behind these things. You must understand that it is a manufactured proxy war conflict. The United States hates when a country is not doing its bidding, and it will punish those countries for not doing its bidding. Doing it to Venezuela, doing it to Cuba, doing it to Haiti, doing it to Eritrea, doing it to all these places. So what happened is, I'm going to give you the timeline, and then I'm going to give you the reason why we're here right now. Okay, so in 2013, the thing is that Yorkovich, the president at that time, Viktor Yanukovych, he really was not keen on like being associated with the European Union. You know what I mean? There were a lot of United States funded pro-Western factions that funded like the unrest in there were like Western parts of Ukraine that were actually that were actually like pro EU and stuff like that. But you also had Russian speaking populations that had historic ties to the old Soviet bloc, and they were against these things. Now another thing that happened, you have to understand, and hey, who knows, this is probably why we're at where we're at right now. For those of you guys don't know, the old Soviet bloc, man, it was an experiment that never really reached its full level. So because it never reached its full level, you kind of had like just it being an experiment, but all those countries were under one socialist ideology, and I think what they're trying to do, but the United States is trying to prevent from happening, is revive that. Because you have to understand something, the socialist bloc helped Africa out a lot, more than the United States ever will help Africa, more than ever. Some of my family members studied in Yugoslavia, some of them studied in Bulgaria, some of them even studied in Czechoslovakia. But let's look at something else, okay? The Republic of Crimea, right? They decided that they wanted to succeed from Ukraine, right? And they wanted to rejoin Russia. And so the thing is, some Ukrainian troops actually left the Ukraine and decided to like join Crimea in what it wanted to do. You also have to keep in mind that, you know, once that happened, the United States put sanctions on it. You have to understand Ukraine was very, very pro-Western, you know, but you have pockets who want to be back to the old Soviet bloc as well. Okay, so now you have another thing that, you know, even in Ukraine, there are people who want to succeed. You know, there was a place called Donbass, and it wants to be its own thing. Because it wants to be its own thing, the Ukrainians accuse the Russians of basically being behind it and doing this, right? Okay, let me see. Another problem is that Russia recognized Donbass Republic. It recognized it as an independent entity, right? And so because of it, that's why, you know, you kind of have some conflicts right now. That's what needs to be said, is that, you know, it all comes down to this place wanting sovereignty for itself. You know what I mean? Another thing that said, you know, he said, you know, Putin said he doesn't want to occupy the Ukraine. Okay, what he wants to do is basically they don't want Russia to become the numero uno again and possibly bring back the Soviet bloc. You have to know something too, you know. Um, because what we have, because what's going on right now, you have to understand that, you know, because of this, because the United States has succeeded at this proxy war, now it's, you know, the European Union's getting involved. You know, Biden's putting sanctions on Russia, all types of these things. You know, you knew it was going to happen. I saw it happening from a while away. Also, you know, China is, of course, going to be on the side of Russia. You also have whatchamacallit, NATO. Of course, you know, when NATO wants to do something, you know, NATO will destroy a whole country in order to get its point across, right? So, with that being said, this is where we're at with this situation, with this conflict, okay? It also needs to be said, and I'm going to just say this one more thing. We also have to understand that that Joe Biden is a warmonger in itself, and so what he's gonna do is, now I'm reading that he actually is gonna have basically 7,000 troops stationed in Germany, U.S. troops stationed in Germany, in order to possibly attack in Ukraine, you know, defend Ukraine. And the thing is about it is it's about it's about a cat and mouse economical game. Because guess what? The dollar was the dollar was actually losing value in that part of the world because people were shifting away from the dollar. Like more people are shifting away from the dollar. Now that this conflict has happened, guess what? The dollar is surging. Okay? The Russian ruble has hit a record low because of this war. Um, it's sad to say it, but they will use the technically Russia does not need the United States in terms of economical dependency. And this is basically going to be an economic war. Okay? And that's what it is. So, in order to like cancel Russia's influence, and I'm going to end it on this. In order to cancel Russia's influence and possibly prevent the old Soviet Union from being revived, because I'm dead serious. I've talked to many, like some guys in the boxing gym that I know, they're from the former Soviet Union. So I know a guy from Tajikistan. I know someone from Azerbaijan. I know someone from Kazakhstan. And they all kind of have this sentiment that they kind of, their parents and stuff like that, they miss the old Soviet Union. You know, they miss what the old Soviet Union could have became. So this is what it comes down to. And we're going to have to wait and see what happens. It comes down to, number one, keeping the old Soviet Union from being a possibility. The old Soviet bloc, or the socialist bloc, whatever you want to call it. Number two, it's an economical war. The United States wants that its dollar to be the end all and say all when it comes to every massive world, like when it comes to every country's economy. It wants every country's economy to be dependent on that piece of paper. Russia was trying to turn away from it, get away from it, and this is what has happened because Russia has tried to do that. Number three, the Donbass. Donbass, I believe, is a natural resource rich place in Ukraine. Because Russia recognizes its sovereignty, this has led to the conflicts as well. And you have to understand that there are nuclear energies in this place. And I think because Russia does recognize its sovereignty, that Russia would probably be one of the recipients of that nuclear energy. And, you know, of course, the United States does not want that to happen. Could this be Cold War all over again? I don't know. You know, I don't know what Africa's stance on this is, though. I really don't. And that's going to be another video for another time. But you have to understand that, you know, I'm not a Marxist, I'm not a Leninist, but I'm a realist. And I recognize that, hey, you know, I'm not going to even cap. Without Russia, a lot of our countries would not be independent in Africa, because I'm going to tell you something. The United States wasn't trying to give us no damn independence or help us fight for independence. The United States was allied with France, Portugal, and the like thereof. They could give a rat's ass about our independence. You know, Russia helped us with weapons. You know, in my country, Guinea-Bissau, we got RPGs to shoot down jets. You know what I mean? So we got to see what Africa's stance is on these happenings. You know what I mean? I know Cabo Verde has condemned Russia's thing on it, but I mean, before I go, let me look real quick. see what they say. Well, Africa is silent, but you have a lot of these pro-Western African nations like South Africa, um, saying um, it condemns what it condemns what you call it, these attacks, and that Russia should withdraw. But you know, of course, like a lot of these African governments are puppets of the United States. And Kenya has an anti-colonial stance on this thing. Um, but but you have a lot of pro-Russians in Africa. You know what I mean? You have a lot of pro-Russians, Russia, like hardcore, like Marxist Leninists in Africa. You know. But let's wait and see what happens. You know, let's see what happens. But anyway, bottom line, proxy war, after money, after influence. That's what it comes down to. Well, anyhow, Fool is signing out. Leave your thoughts, leave your comments. Till next time on Jarrah.